Hi, today I wanted to try more tricky video about different kinds of R's across languages. Basically between French, English, Spanish. So I think we can make two categories. Basically the front R's and the back R's. And first we're gonna start with a Spanish tapped R. Most basic one maybe. Very common sound across worldwide languages. So how to pronounce it? So we can take the Spanish word for but to say contraction, pero. So basically the front of the tongue is gonna tap the alveolar ridge a single time, basically, only once. So this sound is very similar to the articulation of an American weak T or weak D, which is the explanation you're gonna find most of the time on YouTube for this sound. It's pretty accurate. I would just add maybe a slight comment about the tapped R's might be a bit stronger, a bit more fronted. It's really like strongly tapping the alveolar ridge most of the time, compared to an American flap is going to be similar but slightly more purely alveolar, maybe just slightly backward compared to the tap, and most of the time it's gonna a sound is gonna be less strong than a tap. Not always, kind of depends the word, the speed, stuff like that. But I can still perceive a very slight difference in articulation. But basically, it's the closest sound, at least in English, American English. So pero, ada. And to me, it's kind of the only purely front R in that list. People don't say oh, but the trill R. But to me, the trill R, at least the way I articulate it, and the English R as well, to me, they're more back in the articulation. The way I pronounce it personally is more like the starting position is basically retroflex for me. So when I pronounce R, the tongue is completely pushed toward the back, and the tip is kind of pointing upward, a retroflex position. So that's also maybe why people have a lot of issue to learn it. They think like the action is mostly at the front of the tongue, but the main movement when I want to articulate that sound is first pushing my tongue back. So maybe that's something you have to think about it. So trill R in Spanish, rrr, word perro, a dog, un perro. English, any word I just pronounced, I guess. Red, if you want one, re. Oh, and this sound is labialized for most speakers, which is not really indicated most of the time. So you can see the lips with the movement of the tongue. In some very rare dialect, there's no movement of the tongue, so you only get the movement of the lips. So it's more like red with the tongue is the way I pronounce it. Last but not least, we have the French R. Back as well for sure. Good roll, probably. It's typically the tongue position of a K, of a G, K, G, but even a bit more backward. And it's fricative or approximant. Mostly an approximant, I would say. Especially in colloquial speech. We don't really emphasize it when we pronounce it naturally. So there's no, I think, real easy way to teach that sound. But is it mandatory in French? The answer is probably not, because for a long time we've basically like all these different types of R's, especially in French. I would say the trailed one, the tapped one as well, the trill but guttural one, which is so tricky I can't even produce it, and the guttural fricative, R, like in the word rouge. They've been living together. There's no problem. So even if you produce like a more globally common R, it's not going to be a problem, because basically most French speakers naturally understand, oh, it's an R, even if it's not like the most common realization of the R consonant. It's going to be okay. Here as well, we can see we don't have any problem with that. So if you're a very linguistic purist, language nerd just like me, sure, feel free to put an effort into it. People will appreciate you put that effort. If you don't have time or just can't figure it out with this R sound, no problem, just gonna be fine. People will understand you nonetheless. That's it for today. It's been a bit longer than usual, I think. But it's such a tricky topic, honestly. Let me know if you have any question about it. See you next time.